Cal Trenner hated his job, and if you asked him why, he'd probably tell you it was because the colony's gravity was just enough to make you feel like you were constantly half asleep, but still expected to carry 3 times your weight. Or maybe it was the machines, the endless whirs and beeps of generators that sounded like they were arguing with each other in some ancient, rusty dialect. But really it was because of her, the alien woman with ears like twin blades slicing through the air, who had decided he was worth following around like a lost puppy with a grudge. He first saw her on a Tuesday, which seemed unfair because Tuesday was usually the day the coffee machine broke down, not the day some silent, towering stranger started shadowing him. He was crouched under a flickering power conduit, elbow deep in a coil of humming nanofilaments. When he sensed it, a stillness like the air had stopped just a centimeter behind his neck. He looked up and caught the hint of long, curved ears peeking over the bulkhead edge. She didn't blink, didn't move, just stared. "Look, I'm the guy who fixes things," Cal said, wiping oil off his hands. "I don't do mysterious ghost games. If you want something, speak up." No response, just those eyes, dark, unreadable, and definitely judging him for his grease-stained jumpsuit. Over the next few days, Cal tried every trick he knew to shake her off. He ducked into the hydroponics bay, hoping she wouldn't want to get wet or deal with plants that looked like they might eat a finger. She was there, roots of alien ferns brushing her boots like she belonged. He jumped into the airlock while humming the old Earth classic Space Oddity in a desperate bid to confuse her. She didn't even flinch. He tried pretending to be a robot for a whole hour, which mostly involved him speaking in a monotone and refusing to blink, but she just tilted her head and kept following. "You're like a shadow with better hearing," he muttered once, watching her materialize behind a crate he swore he'd just checked. "Do you have some kind of stealth tech? Or did your mother just teach you to be super creepy?" Her only reply was a slow blink. The colony workers started noticing too. One engineer swore she saw the alien silently rearranging the tools on a bench. Another reported hearing low hums that sounded suspiciously like disapproval every time Cal made a mess. He was beginning to think the colony might actually be haunted by a judgmental, long-eared ghost with serious combat skills. But there was no denying it. She was good. Not a word, no weapons drawn, no threats. Just constant, quiet presence. If annoyance had a physical form, Cal would have been crushed by it. One night, while attempting to sneak away to the rec hall for a forbidden slice of synth pizza, Cal tripped over a loose cable and sprawled in front of her. He caught a flash of something. Was that a smirk? No, probably just the way his own exhaustion was making him see things. She reached out, steadying him with a grip that was like iron wrapped in velvet. "You fall a lot," she said finally, voice like gravel sliding down a tin roof. He blinked. "You talked." She nodded once, serious as a death sentence. "I do not waste words." Cal sat up, brushing dust off his knees. "Well, thanks for the assist, Shadow." Her lips twitched, just for a heartbeat. Cal wasn't sure if this was progress or if she was just messing with him, but either way, it was better than her standing there, silently plotting his demise. The days stretched on, and so did her silent shadowing. When Cal's AI assistant, MODEST, started chiming in with snarky commentary about his peculiar new companion, Cal ignored it. The AI's idea of humor was programming his toaster to sing opera, which was not helpful when he was trying to think. Still, there was something about her presence that gnawed at him. It wasn't fear exactly, though that came later. It was more like the feeling you get when you realize you've left your boots outside the airlock and they're now crawling with native bugs. He tried to talk to her, really talk, but she responded with one-word answers or silence. The longest conversation they had went like this. "Cal, why are you following me? Are you some kind of spy?" Ears. "Guardian." Cal. "Guardian? Of what? Me." Ears. "Yes." Cal. "That's unsettling." The humor in the situation was a thin veil over his growing discomfort. Who assigned a silent warrior to trail a technician like a particularly persistent bad penny? And why him? He tried reasoning with her, bargaining with her, even bribing her with packets of synthetic chocolate that were usually reserved for colony elites. She ignored all of it, except for the chocolate. She ate it, but without expression, like it was just another kind of fuel. When Cal's shift ended and the colony's emergency sirens screamed through the halls, he almost didn't want to see her. Almost. Because if she was there when the lights went out, maybe she wasn't just a nuisance. He found her waiting outside the reactor chamber, ears twitching slightly, stance coiled like a spring ready to snap. And when the reactor started to fail, she moved without hesitation, yanking him away from a collapsing support beam and into the dim safety corridor. "Thanks," Cal gasped, heart hammering. Her eyes held his for a moment, and in that brief connection, there was a flicker, something almost like concern. Then she vanished into the dark again, silent and watchful, the shadow he couldn't shake. Cal woke up the next morning feeling like a bolt of static had zapped his brain overnight. His head throbbed, his muscles complained, and somewhere deep inside, he was sure the vending machine still held a grudge. But one thing was certain, he couldn't ignore the alien woman anymore. Not after she had literally saved his life in the reactor meltdown fiasco. He shuffled into the cramped crew lounge, rubbing sleep from his eyes, and was immediately greeted by MODEST's sarcastic digital voice. "Good morning, Cal. I've analyzed your vital signs and concluded you are officially unfit for human existence. Also, the alien stalker seems quite fond of you." "Thanks for the pep talk," Cal muttered, pouring himself a synthetic coffee that tasted suspiciously like burnt circuit boards. "Any chance you can tell me why she's following me like a shadow with attitude?" MODEST hummed thoughtfully. "Possibilities. She's a spy, a guardian, or perhaps she simply likes your charming collection of questionable hygiene products." Cal snorted. "Yeah, she probably follows me just for the smell." He left the lounge and headed toward the central hub, determined to get answers. The colony's network was a labyrinth of encrypted data streams, and he knew that if anyone had information about the mysterious visitor, it would be buried somewhere in those digital veins. As he sat down at a terminal, his fingers danced over the holographic keyboard. He pulled up the restricted archives and began scanning diplomatic files from decades past, looking for anything related to the Ilyari, the species the woman clearly belonged to, if he was reading the ear structure correctly. MODEST run a cross-reference on the Ilyari diplomatic missions and any records of queens or warriors. He tried to sound casual but failed spectacularly. "Already on it," the AI replied with a beep. "However, it appears the Ilyari have a long history of dramatic exits and entrances. Quite theatrical, really. Would you like me to prepare popcorn?" Cal chuckled. "Focus, please." Minutes later, the screen flickered, and a fragmented message appeared. Static-laced footage showing a regal figure with elongated ears, adorned in shimmering armor, speaking in a language that pulsed with harmonic resonance. "That's the Queen," Cal whispered. "She looks tired." MODEST's voice dropped an octave, as if trying to sound serious. "She's reportedly dying, which makes the presence of a warrior all the more logical. Guardians don't usually wander aimlessly unless they're trying to perfect the art of annoying technicians." Cal leaned back. So the alien woman wasn't just some random shadow, she was on a mission. But why choose him? He scratched his head, knocking a pile of overdue maintenance reports to the floor. Later, as he made his way back through the twisting corridors of Varela 9, Cal tried to formulate a plan. Maybe talking to her again would help, but every time he attempted conversation, she answered in one-word grunts or silence. He caught her once near the hydroponics bay. "Hey, ears, you ever try small talk?" he asked, holding up a sprig of synthetic basil. She looked at him, then at the plant, and finally rolled her eyes in a movement so subtle it almost looked like a twitch. "Okay, tough crowd." That night, Cal's luck took a dive off the gravity well. The colony's power grid experienced a fluctuation, and the lights flickered ominously. A low hum filled the air, an unsettling tone that made his teeth chatter. "Looks like the machines are plotting against us," he muttered, stepping cautiously toward the control room. Halfway there, he stumbled into a patrol of security drones, their sensors locking on him with cold precision. "Not today, metal monkeys," Cal said, backing away. But his retreat was cut short when the alien woman appeared between him and the drones, her movements fluid and deadly. She dispatched the machines with such swift efficiency that Cal barely had time to blink. After the chaos, she turned to him and said one word, her voice firm. "Chosen." Cal blinked. "Chosen?" Chosen for what? The colony's worst dance competition? She didn't laugh. Cal sighed, realizing this was going to be one of those days. Back at his quarters, Cal tried to piece together the meaning of chosen. The colony's network had no record of a dance competition, so it had to be something else. Something big. Okay, MODST, what does chosen usually mean in alien cultures? He asked, already knowing the answer was probably trouble. Usually it implies an elevated status, a sacred duty, or being the target of an assassination attempt, the AI replied. Your odds aren't great, but your sense of humor might save you. Cal groaned. Fantastic. The alien woman remained a silent enigma, her presence both a shield and a puzzle. As Cal lay awake, trying to decode his new reality, he couldn't help but wonder, what if being chosen meant his life was about to become a lot more complicated? And how many more times was he going to have to pretend the vending machine wasn't out to get him? Cal sat cross-legged on the cold metal floor of the satellite repair bay, a tangle of wires and blinking consoles sprawling around him like some digital jungle. The alien woman, whom he'd long ago dubbed Ears in a fit of creative desperation, stood nearby with arms crossed, a silent sentinel with ears sharp enough to pick up a pin drop 3/4 away, which frankly made him nervous. Okay, Ears, Cal began, waving a soldering iron for emphasis. I'm starting to think you're more than just my creepy sidekick. Maybe you're here for a reason. He glanced at her, but the stoic gaze offered no clues. I mean, you keep saying chosen. Chosen for what? Chosen by whom? Chosen to explain all this madness? She cocked her head slightly, those ears flicking like radar dishes scanning for signals. Then finally a single word dropped from her lips. Right. Cal blinked. Right. Like a ritual? Because last time I was chosen for a ritual, it was a company Christmas party karaoke contest, and I'm still recovering. No reaction. All right, fair. Could be something more serious, Cal said, leaning back against a console and sending a small cascade of sparks into the air. Let's try this. MODEST. Pull up everything on Ilyari rights, especially any involving chosen ones. The AI's voice crackled over the comm, dripping with sardonic enthusiasm. Initiating data, dive into ancient warrior customs. Brace yourself for cultural shock and a high probability of ceremonial awkwardness. The screen flooded with holographic texts, star maps, and symbols glowing in eerie shades of blue and violet. Cal sifted through pages that spoke of bloodlines, honor-bound duties, and something called the echo pulse, a genetic frequency that resonated uniquely in certain Ilyari and their mates. So the rite is a bonding ceremony, Cal said aloud, piecing it together. And it only works if the human resonates with this echo pulse. Ears stepped forward, her expression shifting just slightly, almost like a flicker of approval. You carry it, Cal laughed nervously. Me? The guy who can't even keep his toolkit organized? I have a special kind of resonance, the frequency of panic. She didn't laugh. Over the next hours, Cal and Ears delved deeper into the mystery. He learned that the echo pulse was rare among the Ilyari, almost extinct, but somehow encoded in his DNA, a leftover from a long-forgotten experiment blending human and Ilyari genetics. The Queen, desperate to secure her legacy as she faced the end of her reign, had sent her most trusted warrior to find him. Wait a minute, Cal said, eyes wide. You mean to tell me I'm part alien? Ears nodded once. Part chosen. Cal paced, bumping into a console that beeped angrily. Of course, I'd be the genetic lottery winner. My talents usually involve breaking things and making bad coffee. A sudden alert pulled their attention, a security breach in the colony's data vault. The colony command suspected Cal's erratic behavior and the strange alien presence. They'd tagged him as a liability, maybe even a threat. Well, that's just perfect, Cal muttered. Now I'm the colony's #1 suspect and a walking sci-fi cliché. Ears' expression hardened. She moved with the precision of a predator, cutting off Cal's escape route with a hand on his chest. You must leave. Now. Cal blinked, hands raised in surrender. Leaving sounds great, but where? Out there, he gestured vaguely toward the star-speckled windows. With nothing but my wits and a pocket full of expired protein bars? Ears cracked a rare smile. You are resourceful. The pair slipped out under the cloak of the colony's fading night cycle, navigating service tunnels and forgotten maintenance shafts. The terrain beyond the colony was a harsh, terraformed wasteland filled with tangled metal debris and shimmering dust storms that played tricks on the eyes. Next time you pick a vacation spot, remind me to veto, Cal grumbled as he stumbled over a twisted pipe. Ears extended a hand, steadying him effortlessly. Dangerous, but necessary. They arrived at an ancient structure, the spire of a forgotten Ilyari civilization pulsing faintly with energy, a beacon calling to those who carried the echo pulse. Cal's heart hammered as holographic symbols danced around the spire, reflecting memories of the past etched into the very air. Ready for the rite? Ears asked, her voice softer than before. Cal swallowed hard. Does the rite come with a warranty? Because I'm about to sign up for a lifetime of cosmic weirdness. Ears smiled again, this time without restraint. You are chosen, not just for duty, but for destiny. Cal looked up at the swirling energies, feeling the pull in his mind, a resonance he hadn't known was possible. Somewhere between fear and excitement, he realized that his life had shifted on an axis he never saw coming. And maybe, he added with a grin, I'm going to need a crash course in alien warrior etiquette, starting with how not to get killed. Ears tilted her head, ears twitching. I will teach you. Cal laughed. Great. Step 1. Don't get us vaporized before breakfast. The spire hummed louder, and the night stretched on, filled with the promise of secrets, battles, and maybe, just maybe, a future neither of them expected. Cal blinked against the flickering glow of the ancient spire's holograms, which danced like neon ghosts caught in a slow-motion rave. The rite was supposed to be solemn, mysterious, steeped in sacred tradition, but right now it felt more like a cosmic circus where the main act was a hapless human trying not to trip over his own feet. Ears stood beside him, still silent, still unflinchingly serious. She moved with the grace of a panther stalking through zero gravity, but when she finally spoke, her voice was quieter than usual. Begin. Cal cleared his throat and tried to focus on the swirling lights before him. So, how exactly does this bonding ritual work? Do I need to say some fancy words? Dance awkwardly? Offer a fruit basket? Ears' eyebrow, if you could call those long, slender appendages eyebrows, twitching with what Cal hoped was amusement. No fruit baskets. Focus on the resonance. Cal closed his eyes, letting the hum of the spire wash over him. The energy felt alive, like the heartbeat of a planet trapped inside a machine. Slowly, a faint vibration thrummed in his chest, syncing with the pulse of the spire. Whoa, he muttered. Okay, I feel that. Ears nodded. Good. Now open yourself. Cal wanted to ask open himself to what exactly, but figured the spire's vibes was a safe bet. As the ritual progressed, the holographic lights formed symbols that shimmered like ancient code, weaving a pattern that seemed both alien and oddly familiar. The resonance grew stronger, tugging at his very DNA, stirring something deep inside. Suddenly, a burst of light erupted, blinding him momentarily. When he could see again, Ears was beside him, holding a small crystalline shard glowing with soft violet light. This is the Heartstone, she explained. It links you to the Queen's legacy. Cal poked the shard cautiously. Legacy, huh? Sounds like a fancy way of saying I'm stuck with her problems now. Ears smirked, well, the closest she got to smirking, and said, more than problems, power, responsibility, and protection. Cal sighed, picturing his life suddenly upgraded from technician who breaks things to chosen one with interstellar baggage. He rubbed the back of his neck. Great. I just hope this power doesn't come with a side effects may include spontaneous combustion warning. Ears chuckled softly, a rare sound that made Cal's heart do an odd flip. No combustion. Yet. Back at the colony, things were unraveling faster than Cal's favorite pair of thermal socks. The security forces weren't about to ignore the alien woman trailing him any longer. They suspected espionage, sabotage, or worse. Cal found himself hauled into the command center for questioning, the room smelling faintly of recycled coffee and impending doom. "Technician Trenner," Commander Voss said, eyeing him over her glasses. "Explain why you're accompanied by a non-human entity that's violating colony protocols." Cal raised an eyebrow. "Well, if you want to know, she saved my life during the reactor incident, and now I'm part alien. So, yeah." Voss blinked, clearly processing that information. "Part alien?" "Apparently," Cal said, shrugging. "Genetic freak show, courtesy of some long-dead experiment, and now I'm involved in some kind of ancient alien rite that links me to her queen. So if anyone's looking for me, I'm not just fixing satellites anymore. I'm fixing intergalactic destinies." The commander shook her head slowly. "This complicates things, but if you truly are connected to the Ilyari Queen's legacy, we need to understand what that means for the colony." Cal nodded, already exhausted by the weight of expectations. "Yeah, well, I'm still figuring that out myself." Later, as he walked back through the corridors, Ears fell into step beside him. "They doubt you," she said quietly. Cal smirked. "Doubt me? They think I'm a walking disaster zone with a secret alien shadow." Ears glanced at him, expression unreadable. "Then they have not met you yet." Cal laughed. "Fair enough." The days that followed were a whirlwind of cryptic training, secret meetings, and unintentional comedy. Cal attempted to learn the ancient Ilyari combat forms under Ears' watchful eye. "You call that a strike?" she demanded once as Cal accidentally smacked himself in the face with his own arm. "It's, interpretive combat," he said, rubbing his cheek. "You will improve," she said simply. Cal's training wasn't just physical. He had to learn to channel the echo pulse, tapping into a power that felt like riding a tidal wave inside his veins. Some days he felt like a cosmic superhero. Other days, he was convinced the whole thing was a hallucination caused by too many late-night synth coffee binges. During one particularly disastrous attempt, Cal's pulse flared uncontrollably, causing the lights to flicker and a nearby panel to spark. "Congratulations," MODEST chimed in. "You have officially activated the Don't Touch That warning system." Cal groaned. "I'm trying, okay? Not all of us have the reflexes of an alien warrior." Ears smiled again, the faintest curve that could have been mistaken for amusement or a warning. Despite the chaos, something was changing. Cal felt the burden of the Queen's legacy settling around him like a second skin, and while he still joked to keep the panic at bay, the truth was undeniable. His life was no longer his own, and neither was his heart. Cal sat cross-legged beneath the pale light of the colony's observatory dome, the stars blinking like distant secrets. Ears stood nearby, watching him with an inscrutable expression that had evolved somewhere between stern warrior and reluctant guardian. He glanced at her, a crooked grin tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Okay, so here we are," he said, waving at the endless cosmos. "From satellite technician to chosen one who's supposed to save an alien queen's legacy. I gotta say, my resume just got a serious upgrade. How about yours?" Ears tilted her head, those long ears flicking like antennae. "I have learned much about patience and human humor." Cal chuckled. "That's a win in my book." "So what now? Do we go off to vanquish interstellar evil or throw a welcome party for my new alien relatives?" Ears' lips twitched. "There is no vanquishing today. Only understanding." Cal nodded slowly. Over the last weeks, he'd discovered that the true right wasn't a single moment, but a journey, a forging of trust, power, and connection. The Heartstone hummed softly at his side, a tangible link to the dying queen and the legacy she entrusted to him. "Funny thing," Cal said. "I thought being chosen meant I was some kind of cosmic superhero. Turns out it's more about responsibility and learning not to blow up your workspace." Ears gave a faint smile. Responsibility and restraint. The colony's leadership had reluctantly accepted his new role once Cal demonstrated his growing control over the echo pulse. Commander Voss even offered a half-hearted nod of approval, likely because Cal managed to save a critical power core from meltdown without turning the whole station into a fireworks display. Don't get used to the compliments, Cal had warned Modest, who responded with its usual dry wit. Acknowledging achievement is hazardous to your humility. Tonight the colony was calm. The threat of espionage and sabotage had dissipated, replaced by a tentative peace. Cal's bond with Ears had shifted too, from wary allies to something closer to partnership. The warrior's silent vigilance had softened, revealing hints of warmth beneath her alien stoicism. Ears, Cal began, what happens when the Queen's legacy is fulfilled? When I've done whatever it is I'm supposed to do? Ears looked up at the stars, thoughtful. Then you choose your own path. The right binds but does not chain. Cal smiled. Good, because I'm planning on taking at least one day off, preferably a vacation involving zero alien politics and maximum relaxation. Ears chuckled, a rare and melodic sound that echoed softly in the dome. Perhaps a journey together. Cal's grin widened. Now that sounds like an adventure. He reached out, his hand brushing against hers, the connection sparking with the echo pulse's quiet hum. It wasn't just a legacy anymore. It was a beginning. The universe stretched before them, vast, mysterious, and full of possibilities. Cal had started as a technician, lost in routine and doubt. But now he stood as a guardian of two worlds, a bridge between humanity and the alien heritage coursing through his veins. Ready for whatever comes next? Ears asked. Cal looked up at the stars again, the weight of destiny feeling lighter somehow, buoyed by companionship and newfound purpose. Ready as I'll ever be, he said. But let's keep the explosions to a minimum, yeah? Ears nodded. Agreed. Together they stepped into the unknown, shadows no longer stalking, but walking side by side, bound by honor, legacy, and a shared future written among the stars.